Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well, hope you're all doing fantastic, and that you're all having a great day. I want you to tell me what your favorite cryptocurrency is and why other people should be buying it. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So, you know the deal, I just kind of woke up, so if my words don't make good sense, then you know why. We're here. This is the time frame where, as we've been going over since about the middle of summer, Q4. There's a lot of excitement around Q4 as to the expectations of where prices are supposed to go. We have been in officially, that was the longest downtrend in prices that we've ever had after a halving. Nearly all, I want to say nearly all, of the news that we have been receiving over the course of the last month or two, somewhere around there, has kind of revolved around bulls and buying, Bitcoin's price, where things are going to go, ETF accumulation, countries who are mining Bitcoin, institutions getting into the space, the largest bank within Singapore buying up Bitcoin and offering services to their clients, that kind of thing. The theme now, this is why I said we made it, we're here, understand, we've been talking about this for the better half of 2 years. The beginning of this year, with the advent of the Bitcoin ETFs and then the Ethereum ETFs, have led to a specific amount of expectation as to where this bull run and this bull market are going to take us. And the theme is, it's now. Now is the time. It has to be right now. Macro guru, his name is Raoul Pal, believes that the stage is set for Bitcoin to explode to his massive price target. In a video posted on Real Vision's channel, the former Goldman Sachs executive says Bitcoin tends to rise and fall along with global liquidity cycles. This is, I'll say it lightly, this is another fragment in the shards of what Bitcoin is supposed to do. Bitcoin tends to rise 90 to 100 days after the halving. It didn't. So people believe that if you missed those videos a couple of months ago, that the bull run basically started too early. It normally would have taken us around a good, once again, 90 to 100 days to begin moving back up. But then it takes until the following year in January to actually get to the previous all-time high. And we did that a couple of months after the actual halving, as opposed to the normal time frame. That's where you heard a lot of people talking about that the cycles might be over, cycles might be broken, Bitcoin might be in a completely different cycle. The issue is all the Bitcoin continues to dry up. There's not a lot left. What was the news that we just had about 2 days ago? I don't remember what it was, but it was something along the exact same lines. There's literally not a lot left, and companies continue to buy. The expectations are currently that the Fed is going to continue cutting interest rates. We've heard this from mainly every major bank, and a lot of them are now quoting and saying another 0.5 reduction in interest rates sometime in November. It's expected that the liquidity around the world is going to increase. If people are bullish on 0.5, they'll be bullish on another 0.5. More money will enter the stock market, will enter the cryptocurrency market, prices will increase, that kind of thing. He shared a chart suggesting that global liquidity will surge over the next 3 months, with Bitcoin following suit. He said, and I quote, "It's an absolutely beautiful chart. It's the GMI, the Global Macro Investor Global Weekly Liquidity Index. That's such a long name for something. The GMI Global Macro Investor Global Weekly Liquidity Index. Okay, so that's both private sector liquidity and public sector liquidity from the large global economies. He said, I mean, it's just perfect. It leads by 10 weeks. So you've got that. You've got Bitcoin seasonality. Okay, BTC is always strong from this point onwards, end quote. Understand my words, everyone. This has been a very weird year. The last 4 years have been insanely weird, but this year is weird in every single piece of whatever when it comes to Bitcoin. We've been trying to get Bitcoin ETFs for 12 years. We got them almost seemingly out of nowhere, all at the exact same time. 9 Bitcoin ETFs. We got ETFs in Canada, ETFs in Hong Kong, ETFs in Germany, I think the UK maybe as well, in Singapore, multiple other places. The accumulation of Bitcoin was quite rapid and quite swift. It is expected that these ETF issuers, even just the one within the United States, are going to have 1.5 million to 2 million Bitcoin probably over the course of this cycle. I earlier believed by this time of year, like now, that we would see them holding 1.5 to 2 million Bitcoin, but I guess the sideways motion of the ocean over the course of a summer maybe set that back a little bit. All of the analysts, every single one of them, historically, we tend to see that analysts analyze in very different ways. If you've been with this channel since 2016, 2017, you know what I'm talking about. There's always like a wide rainbow of everyone having a different opinion on this and when this is going to happen and that Bitcoin is going to do this and Bitcoin has to go down. And Bitcoin's going to go up to this number. Bitcoin has to stay at this number. Everyone and their mother is coming to or has come to or has the same conclusions over and over and over. And when I said once again that we made it, October, this is the time that they've all been talking about. By the time we get to the end of November, if you remember correctly, every analyst said that we will be above $95 or $100,000 plus per Bitcoin. And then the end of the year is meant to be the $150,000 plus Bitcoin per coin. And here's a little chart right here of the Global Total Liquidity Index Maximum Global Money Market Movement Money thing. The chart's basically going up, so I can only assume going up is a good sign. PAL shared another chart suggesting that Bitcoin is closely mirroring its price action from January 2023 to March 2024. I mentioned that a couple of other times before, maybe the earlier, maybe summer part of the year. A lot of people were quite, the word's not annoyed, but were kind of confused as to why Bitcoin didn't immediately move over 100,000. And I had to kind of keep things in context and remind everyone and my friends, Bitcoin was around $16,000 before. There were expectations that Bitcoin was going to fall down to $12,000. We went to 16,000 and then to 18,000 and then it kept on jumping, and that's how we got to 70-something thousand dollars. The market has been performing well, but there's still a lot of question marks written all over the wall as to why, I was going to say why we're not doing weller. You know, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Shared another chart suggesting that Bitcoin is closely mirroring its price action from January 2023 to March 2024, when Bitcoin jumped around 350% from 16,500 to around $74,000 per coin. According to Powell, conditions look ripe for a big Bitcoin surge. The most bearish, I will tell you right now, the most bearish person I've seen, I think his name is Peter Brandt. I think there's like 9 different Peters within the cryptocurrency space. I think Peter Brandt has said that his maximum target for Bitcoin this bull cycle, I believe, is $200,000 to $250,000. That is the most bearish that we have for Bitcoin's price. A lot of the expectations, there was also something recently with Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, once again, this guy's in the news every day, either talking about Bitcoin and gold, gold and Bitcoin, gold and gold, Bitcoin and gold, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, gold, gold. It's kind of his thing that he's on a loop on. He also reiterated that he thinks it's going to 500,000. The majority of the analysts are saying anywhere from, majority, $350,000, $400,000, $500,000 per coin. I don't think the market is mentally ready for it. Does that make any sense? Probably not. I think that we are probably going to hit those numbers. That's just from a vantage point and the simplicity of supply and demand. But I feel like a lot of people have high expectations for the market, but they won't know what to do when we hit those numbers. You understand what I mean? Like, imagine, for instance, everyone, for those of you who missed, like the last week of videos, it was like a heavy sprinkling of Ripple and XRP everywhere because of the stablecoin and going public and potential XRP ETFs. A lot of the analysts within the space are predicting a $24 to a $27 XRP. What happens if the coin does hit those numbers? You understand what I mean? I think it seems fantastical to throw out numbers and say it's going to hit that number. But I think if we do hit a $24 XRP, the market won't know how to react to it. People won't know when to take profits or even take profits because the expectation will be that XRP is then going to $50 a coin. If we get to $500,000 Bitcoin, I think the market also won't know how to react because we've heard so many people clamoring for a $1 million Bitcoin, especially this cycle. You realize how that other guy's like completely silent now. Samson Mao and like 3 other people. For those of you who missed those videos, these are like big, well-known Bitcoin, I don't want to say the term executives, but like well-known in the space as like developers and venture capitalists and yada, yada, yada. One of them was predicting a $1 million Bitcoin. He said either by the end of this year or summer 2025. Yeah, he's been quite silent recently, I guess because of all the, once again, the sideways movements over the course of the summer. I think everyone is anticipating large movements, but I don't think that people will really know what to do if we actually hit those numbers because, I don't know. You understand what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly. Probably not. He said Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. Literally perfect. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed is going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We got the seasonality in place. We got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left. He said it has to be now. So we made it. We're here. And as far as expectations go, irrespective of what might be happening on any given day for prices, if you wake up and prices are down by 4% or up by 15%, we are here. This is the moment that everything is supposed to go completely cuckoo bananas. So yeah, and I mean this in the most realistic way possible. I'm clapping for people who actually made it, simply because it's been a very difficult journey. This has been the most difficult bull run, bull market, bull season, bull anything having that we've ever had. Like, not even from like a mental perspective of like, oh, I'm drained. No, this has been actually the craziest one. We've never seen this much accumulation, this much Bitcoin buying. The whale activity is off the literal charts. The Bitcoin mining that's being done, the power is now 8 times what it was during the last bull run, and it tends to increase during a bull run as more people plug in their computers. So we're probably going to see another 30-40% increase in the power as well. And then prices trended sideways. So, as of right now, I would realistically, if I can be honest with you, we should be well aware of where the market is going by the end of November. The expectations are that now begins the big jump, that by the time we get to January, we should be over $150,000 per coin. Springtime, $250,000. And then it's just a gigantic question mark as to when the prices will, or if they will, completely cascade backwards. The analysts didn't agree on one thing. They all agree on prices, but it's more of the time frame. The idea for a lot of them, and I want to say 80%, 85%, is that the bull run is going to end around the end of Q3, beginning of Q4 in 2025. That is to say, when it starts getting chilly outside, as it has every other cycle. But I think a couple of analysts said summer. They're expecting like a June, July, August kind of top of the market, but we'll see. It feels weird. It honestly feels completely weird when you go over something every single day, when you talk about stuff, and from a personal standpoint, when you see how insane the market has become compared to the last couple of cycles and how many people are in the market, how many people are buying. There's been a brand new all-time high of wallets holding 1/100th of a Bitcoin, holding 1/10th of a Bitcoin. An entire Bitcoin has also surged. The wallet addresses holding more than 100 or 1,000 Bitcoin. They're now controlling 91% of the supply. Everyone's buying all the time. And now it just needs to like be extra reflected in the price. I know a lot of people have been bullish after the last Fed rate cut, but I think one more will kind of solidify everything. Everyone's suggesting that all engines are go. Let's see what ends up happening. Yeah, that's apparently we made it. This is it. Get ready to make money, so every analyst is saying. And yeah, let's move on. Also in Sure, Why Not? In a new legal development, a judge has dismissed ConsenSys's lawsuit against the US SEC and its chairman, Gary Gensler. For those of you who have forgotten, the SEC has been fighting against the cryptocurrency space for as long as I can actually remember. The issue is, and I'll say it this way, because there are so many scams and things happening within crypto, we do need regulation to a certain extent. The issue is that the regulators have not regulated. They've only regulated by force, by basically taking people to court, telling people and companies that they've done something wrong. You've been doing this wrong for 7 years. We're now taking you to court, as opposed to telling them the day that they see them doing something wrong and trying to work backwards. It doesn't work. So a lot of companies within the cryptocurrency space, believing that they had some kind of regulatory clarity over the years, kind of went about their business. They did what they did, developed and made and built, and Basically, at some point after years of kind of existing on their own, we even heard from Coinbase and Gemini and multiple other companies that they were in constant contact with the US SEC. They said they would literally have, sometimes they would have someone like physically go to the building and like hand them letters. They were calling them all the time. They were constantly emailing them. A lot of these companies, if not all major cryptocurrency companies, have hired a former SEC executives. That was like a big thing in 2017, 2018. Like they have them on their board of members. Like they usually have one or two people from the former workers of the SEC and usually one from the CFTC, so that they're always up to date. And they have someone who knows someone inside of the offices. Makes a lot of sense. The problem is that even after all of that, the US SEC still sent out summons and all these other things to these companies, basically saying you broke the law, you broke security laws, you did A, B, and C, and therefore now you're in trouble. A lot of these companies began to be angry and upset, and rightfully so. Imagine you were constantly in contact with someone thinking that everything was A-okay, and then one day they tell you the last 7 years you've been doing something wrong or incorrect or terrible or you need to change, or it is like, what are you talking about? So a lot of these companies basically, and I air quote here, struck back. The most popular one being Grayscale, who for about 6 years was trying to get their funds converted into ETFs. The SEC kept on saying, no, it's not going to happen. So Grayscale took the SEC to court, and Grayscale actually won. Grayscale is mainly kind of the main reason why we actually have Bitcoin ETFs in the United States. It's because, I don't want to say the term that they were brave enough, but I think they had it up to here. Took the SEC to court, they ended up winning, and that's why their trust was converted into an ETF, and why seemingly the Ethereum ETF also kind of went through as well. Coinbase, I believe, also tried or is trying to take the SEC to court. Don't really know what's happening there. The other really popular company is Consensus. Consensus is an Ethereum-based company. I believe that they're the creators of MetaMask, like the little like web browser cryptocurrency ERC20 wallet. And earlier this year, the SEC alluded to the fact that basically every coin except for 3, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and now XRP, they say that every other coin is a security. And as a lot of these companies have basically been offering, and I air quote here, offering these coins to Americans, or allowing Americans, I said Americans, wow, or allowing Americans to have access to these coins, and or creating things on marketplaces that allow for like a return, i.e., let's say you have a DeFi platform, or you have something where people can stake their coins or create a new coin and get liquidity and stake it and borrow for it. The SEC explicitly considers these things as securities, which actually makes sense because that's what the definition is. The coins themselves should never be considered securities. That'd be like saying like gold is a security when it's actually a commodity. What the SEC should be focusing on are things within the law that say, if you are buying something with an expectation of profit from the actual dealings of the company, i.e., this company makes this platform that says if you put this coin inside of it, you will get a guaranteed 8% per year. That, by security laws, is a security. It's based off of the company. You're putting your money into it with an expectation of making a guaranteed profit. Security. So the SEC filed suit against Consensus and many other Ethereum-based companies earlier this year. A couple of them kind of grumbled and paid the fee. Consensus did not, and they launched a lawsuit against the SEC themselves specifically. So that's where we are. A judge has dismissed the consensus lawsuit against the US SEC and against Gary Gensler. The blockchain and Web3 software company filed a lawsuit in April. Wow, that was a while ago. 25th of April, 2024, challenging the SEC's attempt to regulate Ethereum and its native coin, ETH, with consensus argued could seriously impact blockchain's role as a foundation for Web3 technologies. A lot of these people, now this is a personal opinion, a lot of these companies I don't think actually care about decentralization or the community at all. I'm not saying that this is consensus, but a lot of the people in the companies who are pushing back against the SEC had their own monetary interest at heart as opposed to everyone else's. This had, at the heart of it, I do honestly believe that the SEC does see all of these scams and that they're trying to do something against the scams. The problem with the cryptocurrency space is that everyone has the right to create these protocols and these things at will. Everyone can create their own coin on Solana. Everyone can create these things. And everyone in crypto, or the majority of people in crypto, love them. They fall over themselves for these things. This is the greatest thing ever. Look how much money I'm making. And then when they're rug pulls, when they're scams, and you know when they're scams and they completely fall apart, people actually run to the SEC. You wouldn't think that that's a thing, or people would kind of go, I'll learn for next time. This is the reason why we had the initial lawsuits against Ripple back in 2017 and 2018, because people were into the market, but when they lose money, they look for someone to blame. And instead of saying, I shouldn't have been scammed by that 38th coin that had no actual usage, a lot of people like write the SEC and say, hey, I believe this coin is a scam. You need to investigate it. And if you get 800 messages like that, the SEC is kind of forced to investigate and see what's going on. And then the further that they dig and the more that they see what's happening within the space, the more people that end up getting scammed. Of course, the SEC thinks that everything in the space is one gigantic scam. That's the problem that we had. I told you that years ago when it came to DeFi. I told everyone, I was like, watch out because something seems very wrong. I didn't believe for a second that any of these companies were actually making anything decentralized. People were throwing their money, hard-earned money, into these protocols. They were offering a guaranteed 34% return, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, like in any form in finance. A lot of new people get into the cryptocurrency space. They've never been in finance before. They think that a 34 yearly return is completely normal as opposed to a 3, 4, or maybe 5% dividend from the thing that they're actually holding. The thing goes belly up and it disappears. And the problem is you had 15,000 new people who entered the market, who bought that crappy coin. So then you're going to mathematically have 500 people who email the SEC and say, hey, look into this, investigate this. That was the issue with Kevin O'Leary a couple of years ago. He was really into DeFi. He was bragging on the news on CNBC how much money he was making. This is the wave of the future. His project that he was in completely was a scam. And then he went onto TV talking about the SEC needs to regulate all of this. So this is what keeps happening over and over and over. This is why I try to steer people. I'm like, if something looks weird or odd, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to be like, hey, watch out for it. There's a problem with it. But of course, people don't want to listen, so they throw their money into these things. Once again, we're not explicitly talking about consensus. It's more of a generalized why the SEC is always attacking these different companies. You assume it's random, or they simply are like throwing darts at a board and going, that one. No, people are actually calling them and mailing them and emailing them about specific companies and saying like something must be wrong, like there's a problem here. Consensus, a major player in the Ethereum ecosystem, and the company behind, yeah, I was right, MetaMask, filed a lawsuit to block the SEC from classifying ETH as a security. The company argued that the SEC's regulatory approach was unlawful and could hinder Ethereum's development in the US. and halt technological innovations in various industries that rely on blockchain. The problem is that you just need to make it decentralized enough. That's what usually ends up being the problem in so many of these cases. A lot of these projects aren't actually decentralized. And I mean that from the, from the side of ConsenSys probably has like an actual office. This is why they can receive letters from the SEC or saying, hey, you did something wrong. If you have actual developers and you build a community around these things and make it decentralized enough that it's actually the community running the project, then there's no problem. The issue is that so many companies are getting into this space and they're literally making centralized things and they're calling it Web3. Web3, once again, for those of you who don't know, is meant to be the complete decentralization of the internet. No one essentially is in control. Everyone has the power and we kind of self-regulate. If there's a million people on a protocol and you see that there's one bad actor, the entire community can like work against them and say, no, we want to keep this a safe place for this coin and this chain. Nearly all of these DeFi projects and Web3 projects are being made by PayPal, being made by Visa, being made by Sony. There's no interest in actually making it decentralized or open. So of course you keep having all these problems over and over. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that because I don't know exactly where that's going. I have no faith in DeFi. Like none of it actually is properly decentralized at all. And also, I mean, the SEC has more or less in the last couple of months basically said that Ethereum is also a commodity. You don't have to worry anymore. So it was just like this company was worried about their money. It's the same thing where last point where I said before, when you hear all these companies keep making all these chains and these new coins and these stable coins, it has nothing to do with like making our ecosystem better. It's making themselves richer. If you as Sony or PayPal or Visa or MasterCard or any other company really want to make Bitcoin and Ethereum safer and better, you would develop directly on chain. But they're all making their own chains and their own products and telling other people to use this. Deposit your coin on Coinbase's base. We're a layer 2 solution where you can lock your coins inside and then you have a centralized exchange where you have to be able to ask permission to use your money. Why aren't they building directly on Ethereum? Why aren't these people going directly to the coders, to Vitalik and saying, hey, we're going to invest $35 million instead of making a brand new chain on top of it. We're going to make Ethereum have 10,000 transactions per second. We're going to give you the money and the space to be able to make Ethereum what it's supposed to be. No, everyone wants to make a new chain. Everyone wants to make a new protocol. Everyone makes a new blah, 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 blah. Of course, everything keeps falling apart. Of course, the SEC keeps rearing their head in the space. Okie dokie. That's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I hope to, what was that? And I hope you all soon, there we go. And I'll speak to you all soon. See you.